Welcome to the Lost in History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. The French Army organizes its supply stores in the city of Lemnos, Greece, in 1915. The preparation was part of efforts before the Gallipoli campaign, a joint operation with other Allied forces. In February 1940, a boy was photographed enjoying an ice cream while sitting on a naval mine that the tide had brought to the beach at Deal in Kent, England. The image shows the contrast between childhood innocence and the dangers of war, since the period coincides with the early years of the Second World War. The ship Endurance is shown trapped in ice in 1915 during the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition, led by Ernest Shackleton. The vessel was stuck in the ice of the Weddell Sea in Antarctica during one of the most challenging explorations of the Great Expedition era. Gustav V, King of Sweden, was involved in a car incident during his reign. The image records the moment just after the event, with the monarch calmly assisted by people around him. A woman walks alone among building remains in the center of Dresden, Germany. The image was recorded during a time of rebuilding after the intense events of the 20th century. In 1941, Anne Frank was photographed writing at her desk in the bedroom of the family's apartment on Merwedplein, Amsterdam. The image captures an intimate moment before her well-known period in hiding during the Second World War. The ship Titanic is docked in the port of Southampton, England, in 1912. This image shows the moment when passengers and crew prepared for the famous ocean liner's first and only voyage. Frontline soldiers take a moment to send New Year wishes. Even amid difficult conditions, they express hope and connection with family members and loved ones far away. A German soldier throws himself to the ground for cover during an intense moment on the Western Front around 1916 during the First World War. The image captures quick reactions in a hostile and challenging environment. About 300,000 people gather in the streets of Paris in support of President Charles de Gaulle. The demonstration took place during the intense protests of May 1968, a period of social unrest in France. Children play baseball in a neighborhood of Washington, District of Columbia, in 1940. The scene shows an outdoor moment of fun, with quiet streets and a sense of community. Even with improvised equipment, the children's enthusiasm reflects the sport's popularity in the United States at that time. Soviet soldiers pose for a group photo during the events of November 7, 1917, in Russia. The image was recorded as revolutionary forces took key positions in the capital. In 1848, during the French Revolution, one of the earliest photographs recorded barricades in the streets of Paris. These structures were raised by revolutionaries to protect themselves and confront government forces during the fighting. The official opening of the Golden Gate Bridge took place in May 1937 in San Francisco, United States. As part of the celebration, planes flew between the bridge's cables while thousands of people crossed on foot. In January 1948, a Santa Fe locomotive derailed and ended up about 20 feet above the road in Los Angeles. The accident shows the risks and challenges of rail transport at the time, as well as the impact such incidents had on traffic and urban safety. In 1957, a woman in a llama costume was photographed in Times Square, New York. The image, captured by Inge Morath, highlights a curious and unusual moment in the busy urban area, showing cultural variety and special events that took place there. Workers in the Serra Pelada region of Brazil during the 1980s. The area became known for a major gold find that drew thousands of people seeking opportunity. The image was recorded by Brazilian photographer Sebastião Salgado and shows intense activity on the manually dug slopes. This image was taken in 1926 in New York City, United States. It shows painters working high on the Woolworth building, one of the tallest buildings in the world at that time. The workers are on scaffolding within the skyscraper structure. Actress Tippi Hedren appears beside her pet tiger in 1982 in the United States. Known for her love of animals, she lived with big cats on her property in California. Amiens Cathedral in France appears with sandbags stacked around the choir as protection against possible damage. The image was recorded during a period of conflict in the early 20th century. Sailors from the silent film era walk with heads down in a coastal setting, likely during the 1920s. The image conveys a moment of silence and reflection, typical of productions from that period. In 1920, in the Kingdom of Hungary, a lesbian couple was photographed wearing semi-costumed wedding attire. This image shows a bold and uncommon expression for the time, reflecting identity and personal relationships in a period marked by strict social norms. The Italian liner, Andrea Doria, is shown sinking after colliding with the Swedish-American ship Stockholm near the coast of New York on July 25, 1956. The vessel carried more than 1,000 passengers on a transatlantic voyage. Immigrants catch sight of the Statue of Liberty as they enter New York Harbor aboard a transatlantic ship bound for Ellis Island. The image was recorded by Edwin Levick in the early 20th century. A lesser-known photo shows Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, and Joseph Stalin together in the same room in February 1945. After posing for official pictures, the three leaders and their teams met at the Livadia Palace in Crimea. A 21-year-old lieutenant poses in 1895 wearing the full uniform of the 4th Cavalry Queen's Own Hussars, a traditional unit of the British Army. The image was made only 2 months after his graduation from the Royal Military College at Sandhurst. The original Hollywoodland sign was installed in the hills of Los Angeles, California in 1923. It was created as part of a campaign to promote a new real estate development in the area. The Theater of Dionysus in Athens, Greece, appears in this image recorded around 1880. Built on the slope of the Acropolis, it is considered the cradle of Western theater. During antiquity, the site hosted tragedies and comedies in honor of the god Dionysus. Stonehenge, seen from above, in one of the earliest aerial images of the site. The photo was taken in 1906 by Philip Henry Sharp, a second lieutenant in the Corps of Engineers. The shot was made with the help of a tethered balloon used to raise the camera to a good height. The Pyramids of Egypt, seen from above, in a photo taken from a hot air balloon in 1904. This was one of the earliest aerial images recorded of the Giza region, offering a new perspective on the ancient monuments. This photo shows the H-4 Hercules, known as the Spruce Goose, built in 1947 in the United States. The aircraft was created by businessman Howard Hughes and stood out for its impressive size. Nikola Tesla is shown seated in his laboratory in Colorado Springs, United States, in 1899. The image shows the inventor surrounded by electrical equipment used in his high-voltage experiments. The interior of the airship USS Shenandoah appears under construction at the Naval Air Station in Lakehurst, New Jersey, United States, around 1922. The image reveals the detailed metal framework of the enormous aerostat. Deep gratitude to all personnel of the St. Louis Red Cross Ambulance Corps, past, present, and future, for their work during the 1918 influenza pandemic. These professionals played a vital role in caring for and assisting people affected by the illness, facing enormous challenges during a critical moment in public health. The Exposition Universelle of 1900, held in Paris, was one of the largest international events of the early 20th century. The fair brought together technological innovations, works of art, architecture, and cultures from many countries. During the 1930s, Coca-Cola used customized vehicles like this to promote the drink in different cities across the United States. The car worked like a soda fountain on wheels. In 1931, Coca-Cola used cars like this to promote the drink in creative and accessible ways in the United States. The vehicle was equipped to serve as a mobile soda fountain, with the logo in prominence and styling elegant for the time. It drove through neighborhoods and events, offering the beverage directly to the public. A crowd gathers in Times Square at 7th Avenue and 42nd Street in New York on June 13, 1944. A huge replica of a cash register stands out, symbolizing the Fifth War Loan Drive of the United States. On September 3, 1967, Sweden made a major traffic change by switching from left-hand to right-hand driving on the country's streets and roads. The event became known as Dagen H, or H-Day. Workers install a K6 telephone box in London, England, during the 1930s. The design, created by Sir Giles Gilbert Scott, would become one of the country's most recognizable symbols. A camp of native peoples of the Great Plains is recorded around 1890 in a broad region of the interior of the United States. Traditional teepees are arranged on the open ground, surrounded by natural features. The image shows New York City in 1933, but many say it looks like it was taken in the 1920s. The streets, buildings, and vehicles reflect the architecture and style of the era. During that period, The city was changing quickly, with vertical construction, streetcars running, and heavy movement on the main avenues. In the 1930s, soon after its completion, the Empire State Building was photographed from New Jersey. The skyscraper, located in New York, became an iconic symbol of American architecture and urban development. A young woman plays the harp before a large audience at the historic site known as the Rock of Cashel in Ireland. The image was recorded around 1910 in an outdoor setting rich with tradition. In 1955, James Dean and Elizabeth Taylor were photographed together at the Texas State Fair. This meeting brought together two of the biggest American film stars of the time, reflecting the glamour and popularity of celebrities at public events. Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell leave their marks in front of Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood in 1953. The two actresses place their hands and sign their names in wet cement, following a tradition among major film stars. In 1979, musician Sting was photographed on a Vespa GS 160, a classic scooter model popular in Europe. The image shows a relaxed moment for the artist off stage. A group of students from the 1940s is seen together doing school activities and enjoying a break with bottles of Coca-Cola. The scene reflects the daily life of young people of that time. A gasoline station in the United States during the 1920s, before the Great Depression began. The scene shows the moment when automobiles were becoming more common, and refueling was starting to be part of daily routines. In 1917, postal workers were photographed showing their new auto-ped vehicles in Washington, District of Columbia. These motorized devices made mail delivery easier, making transport faster and more efficient. In 1905, an electric car was being charged, showing one of the earliest technologies for electricity-powered vehicles. At the time, electric cars were a promising alternative to gasoline-powered vehicles, especially for urban use. In the 1920s, treadmills were already used as exercise equipment. Although simple compared with modern machines, they helped people stay active and healthy. A worker inspects a camera lens at the Nikon factory in Tokyo, Japan, in 1952. The process required precision and attention to detail, reflecting the company's high standard of quality. Women workers at the Hershey factory in 1937 are shown wrapping chocolates by hand. The process was done carefully, piece by piece, before automation reached the production line. Women work in an assembly factory in the United Kingdom in 1942, during a period of major industrial mobilization. The scene shows the collective effort to keep production going while many men were away on military service. British archaeologists Alfred Lucas and Arthur Mace work on a statue taken from the antechamber of Pharaoh Tutankhamun's tomb. The scene was recorded in January 1924 in the Valley of the Kings, Egypt. Chinese singer Peng Liyuan, who later became the wife of China's current president Xi Jinping, is shown performing for troops in Beijing in 1989. The performance took place during a time of great national tension and was part of cultural activities for members of the armed forces. Carrie Fisher, still a child, watches her mother Debbie Reynolds backstage at the Riviera Hotel in Las Vegas in 1963. The image records an intimate moment between mother and daughter away from the stage lights. Around 1880, a Swedish bride was photographed wearing her traditional wedding attire. The image shows details of the dress and accessories typical of the time and of Swedish culture, reflecting customs and symbolism tied to the marriage ceremony. A group of sympathizers holds a meeting in Buenos Aires, Argentina, during the 1930s. The image shows a moment of international political activity outside Europe, reflecting the tensions and influences of that period. The truck and crew of the Collinsville Fire Department are gathered in front of the fire station in 1926. The city is located in Madison County in the state of Illinois, United States. In the 1890s, a violinist was photographed posing for a studio portrait at an unknown location. The image shows the formality and importance given to musicians then, highlighting the tradition of classical music in the 19th century. The record underscores the role of artists in the culture and society of that period. In 1900, a mother was photographed beside her children. The image shows a moment of family life at the start of the 20th century, reflecting the values and bonds of the period. The clothing and setting indicate the style and living conditions of that generation. Tourists on top of the Great Pyramid of Giza around 1925. At that time, climbing to the summit of the pyramids was common among visitors seeking adventure and panoramic views of the desert. A lifeguard is on duty at Brighton Beach, New York, in 1906. Wearing the uniform of the time, he watches the bathers at one of the city's most popular waterfront destinations. A group of pioneers poses with an advertising poster in Montana, United States, in 1901. Wearing clothing typical of the time, they represent the spirit of expansion and settlement in the American West. In 1880, people were photographed gathered in front of shops in the small town of Eureka Springs, Arkansas. The image shows daily life and social interaction in a rural American community of the late 19th century, where shops served as hubs for trade and gathering. In 1922, a man was photographed listening to music on a record player. This technology was becoming popular, allowing people to enjoy recordings at home with better sound quality. In 1940, a leading bookstore was photographed in London, England. The image shows a space dedicated to selling books during a period marked by the Second World War, when culture and education were still valued despite hardships. Around the 1920s, a group was photographed camping with a mobile kitchen attached to a tent trailer. This image shows how people enjoyed leisure and nature using portable equipment to prepare meals while camping. In 1938, a man was photographed mowing the grass on the campus of Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado. He used a gasoline-powered mower, an innovation of the time that made maintaining large green areas easier. New F-6F Hellcat aircraft are prepared to be sent to a base in the Pacific Ocean. The image was taken during the 1940s in the United States, a time of intense industrial activity. Finnish soldiers raise a national flag near the meeting point of Norway, Sweden, and Finland. The image was recorded in 1945 and symbolizes the close of a period of conflict in the region. In 1911, Pratt, Kansas, showed the first signs of over-industrialization. The image shows rapid industrial growth and its consequences for the town, such as increased pollution and the transformation of the urban environment. Workers were installing a wooden pipeline in Idaho around 1889. This kind of infrastructure was used to carry water or other liquids essential to the region's agricultural and industrial development. In 1850, an inside view of a classroom at the Emerson School for Girls in Boston, Massachusetts, shows the educational environment of the time. The image reveals the seating arrangement, the materials used, and the teaching style in the mid-19th century, a period when girls' education was beginning to gain more importance. In 1934, this coffee shop in Los Angeles, famous for its huge coffee cup on the roof, invited customers to stop for a hot coffee. The place offered affordable options such as barbecue sandwiches for 15 cents and meat sandwiches for 20 cents. In 1956, an inspiring scene was captured showing people, possibly children or youths, discovering or enjoying coffee. This image reflects the cultural role of coffee as a social drink and a symbol of moments of togetherness and enjoyment. In the 1950s, women's fashion necklines went through many changes, reflecting elegance and sophistication. Popular styles included the sweetheart neckline, which highlighted the chest in a delicate way, and the square neckline, which gave a more structured look. In 1957, an ornate insect screen was mounted on the front grille of a vehicle. This guard was meant to keep insects from damaging the radiator and other parts of the car while driving. In fact, Google was founded in 1998, so it did not exist in the 1970s. However, in the 1970s, early research and important developments in computing and networking emerged, which later influenced the creation of search engines such as Google. Europe's 9 kings gathered for the first and only time for a photograph during the funeral of King Edward VII in London. This historic meeting brought together leaders of the main European monarchies, symbolizing the family and political connections among royal houses at the time. In the 1930s, portable beach-changing cabins were common. These practical structures offered privacy for swimmers to change before or after bathing, providing comfort in public settings. In ancient Athens, taxes were paid voluntarily by citizens, motivated by civic responsibility and social pressure. This practice was part of the inhabitants' commitment to maintaining the city and its institutions. In 1966, a man was photographed in an ironic moment, possibly captured through his expression or the situation around him. Although the exact context is not clear, the image conveys the idea of contrast or contradiction, common in everyday scenes that invite reflection or humor. In 1920, people were photographed browsing store windows, an activity known as window shopping. This practice allowed customers to look at and admire goods displayed in shops, even without the immediate intention to buy. In the 1920s, a young delivery worker was photographed at his workplace. At that time, many teenagers and young adults worked as couriers to help support their families, delivering newspapers, goods, or mail. In 1924, an officer was photographed next to his Indian motorcycle in Washington, District of Columbia. The image highlights the popularity and use of these motorcycles by police and other security forces at the time. Indian motorcycles were known for quality and performance and were important for officers' mobility and speed. In the 1890s in England, a Victorian couple was photographed knitting together at home. The image shows a quiet, intimate moment in which both share a common household activity of the era, reflecting family and social life in the Victorian period. One of the first Porsche 919 hybrid models was launched in 2014 to compete in top-level endurance racing. The German manufacturer designed the car to combine performance, technology, and efficiency. A traveling worker walks along a road in the United States during the 1930s. The image portrays one of the many journeys that took place in that period, marked by severe economic hardship. Created by American inventor Russell E. Oakes in 1955, the spaghetti-ade was a curious utensil designed to help twirl pasta more easily. The device rotated automatically, making eating spaghetti more practical and fun, especially for children or beginners with the dish. Nurses present a group of newborn triplets to their visibly moved father in New York in 1946. The scene took place soon after the end of the Second World War, during a period known for rising birth rates. In 1961, at 20 years old, Nick Nolte faced a legal case related to improper documents. He was sentenced to a long term, but the presiding judge suspended the sentence, allowing him to move on. Around 1800, a market scene in Calcutta, now Kolkata, India, was recorded. This image portrays daily life and commercial activity in a city that was already an important economic and cultural center during the British colonial period.